Do you ever wonder what it looks like for a Charlotte Mason homeschool family to actually be enjoying homeschooling living? If so, I'm going to be sharing with you an actual philosophy of Charlotte Mason that will help you understand how and why you should be thinking more about smoother and easier days as you are focusing on planning your Charlotte Mason homeschool and living those plans out. I'm your host, Dollie Freeman, and today on the Charlotte Mason Show, I have some exciting things to share with you that will help you not only answer those questions, but become confident in actually implementing the Charlotte Mason way into your family. So let's get talking about today's topic. Let me post it up here for you. We're going to be talking about what does the science of relationship mean? This is a philosophy of Charlotte Mason. If you have ever read her original books, or if you have heard some other teachers about Charlotte Mason, you may have heard this term, but yet you may struggle to understand what it really means because it's so different from today's education. And that is the beauty of the Charlotte Mason way, is that it is different. And because it's different, it gives you different results that actually leads to self-education. This is one of the philosophies of several that will help you actually raise self-educating children with the right planning system and the right structure at home where you are actually living in your elliptical orbit. Let's continue. Let's start with actually the Charlotte Mason quote that will set the stage for everything that I'm teaching you today. We know well that education is an atmosphere, a discipline, a life. In other words, we know that parents and teachers should know how to make sensible use of a child's circumstance, that's the atmosphere, to forward his sound education, should train him in the discipline of the habits of the good life, and should nourish his life with ideas, the food upon which personality waxes strong. This particular quote is one of my favorite ones that actually helps a mother understand her role as a teacher and what it looks like in everyday life. It helps you further understand the elliptical orbit of education is an atmosphere, a discipline, a life, and it will help you actually build on those philosophies to help you to build a home environment that will actually create delighted learning in your children so that they can actually create the habits of good life that leads to self-education. So I'm really excited to be digging deep with you on this. You may want to grab a piece of paper and write down some of these notes. So the first step in understanding the science of a relationship is that you want to stay within your elliptical orbit that secures good circumstances, habits, and ideas for your children. This is the thing you want to be thinking about. And if you've never heard me say this before, let me repeat it. Your elliptical orbit in the Charlotte Mason homeschooling philosophies is that it's your job and your duty to create an education of the atmosphere, the discipline, and life for your children's education. Every day when you wake up, that's what you need to be thinking about. What is our atmosphere doing? What is the discipline in our home? And what does life look like for our children? And the more you focus on those things, the more you're going to become intentional about raising self-educating children. So I want you to understand that within that elliptical orbit, you have three things that you need to be focusing on. Circumstances include home and other atmospheres your children have access to. So that's the first one. The second one is habits, which include character, hygiene, and work ethic, just to have a few of those. There's more. Ideas come from written and oral literature, as well as observation from influences in their lives. So this is something that you want to be thinking about. You want to become intentional about. You want to be seeking out these opportunities that will allow the circumstances, which is the atmosphere. You want to be focusing on the habits, which is the discipline. And you want to be thinking about the ideas, which is the life. When you're doing that intentionally as a Charlotte Mason mom, you are doing that first step that is so necessary to actually creating the science relationship for your homeschool. Let's do another quote. These three we believe to be the only instruments of which we may make lawful use in the upbringing of children. And any shortcut we take by trading on these sensibilities, emotions, desires, passions will bring us and our children to grief. The reason is plain. Habits, ideas, and circumstances are eternal, and we may all help each other to get the best that is to be had of these. But we may not meddle directly with the personality of a child or man. And this is what's so hard for us moms, is that oftentimes in how we're correcting and directing and moving our children towards their self-education is a lot of times we're on that gray line of actually meddling with their personality. Charlotte Mason is one who believes that children are born sacred with personalities, and it's our duty as mothers and teachers to actually secure those personalities in our children, so our elliptical orbit becomes plain when we understand that our job is to create the atmosphere, the discipline, and a life that will build on these things. Charlotte Mason was true in saying that these are our only instruments. These are the things that we as Charlotte Mason mamas need to focus on a daily basis. The more we do that, right, the more we focus on being intentional in those three instrumental areas of our children's education, we are removing the grief not just from our life, but from our children's lives. And you can bet your bottom dollar that that leads to smoother and easier days, not just for you, but for your children. And when it's easier, it's easy to be finding those delights in your family. So step 2 is make use of spontaneous living. I absolutely love this number 2 because we Charlotte Mason mamas, boy, do we have a whole lot of spontaneous living in our homeschooling life. I don't know about y'all, but we do here. So I'm speaking about my home. There's a lot of spontaneous living. Let me help you understand what that means. Become intentional about identifying the learning opportunities that present themselves without sheltering your children, but allowing life to be their teacher. I'm going to tell you, this is something that we need to work to master, right? This is beginning that stage of masterly inactivity. This is the opportunity for us to begin to be ready to embrace the philosophy of masterly inactivity. Without us first doing this first number 1 step of embracing spontaneous living, we are not going to be able to do the masterly inactivity that is so crucial to self-education. So what we want to do is become intentional about identifying. We all have learning opportunities in our life that we did not plan for, that just kind of happens. They kind of fall in our lap, so to speak. Some are interruptions, but you can turn those interruptions into learning opportunities. You can begin to embrace life as a different view when you come into it and thinking, this is spontaneous living. This is not interruptions. This is not me being sidetracked from my planning, from my syllabus, from our children's daily tasks, from what we need to get done weekly. Once you understand that spontaneous living is 100% education and you become intentional about identifying those learning opportunities, you're going to be setting yourself up as the masterly inactivity that is necessary and required to get to raising self-educating children. So here's another quote that will help you better understand this. The laws of habit are, we know, laws of God, and the forming of good and the hindering of evil habits are among the primary duties of a parent. But it is just as well to be reminded that habits, rather helpful or hindering, only come into play occasionally, right? A great deal of spontaneous living is always going on towards which we can do no more than drop in vital ideas as opportunity occurs. So we need to become very intentional about this. And the only way that we Charlotte Mason mamas are going to be able to become intentional is if we get past that whole concept that living is only found in books. This is why I teach you that it's beyond the books, that living encompasses everything in life. From the time we wake up until the time we go to sleep, there are living opportunities all around us. Yes, they're in books, but they're also in one-on-one conversations. They're in resources that you can find online and on television and DVDs and CDs. They're everywhere. The more we become intentional about forming those good habits and eliminating the hinderings of evil, the more we're going to be able to do for our children's education. The more we're going to make sure that the ideas that they possess are the ideas that are giving wholesome, right? And not the twaddle, which is the nonsense, which I spoke about that last week. So these are the things that you want to do as a Charlotte Mason mama. Become very intentional about those spontaneous livings and how you can turn them on their head to be living. And when Charlotte Mason says we want to make sure that we're not sheltering our children, we want them to come in contact with, an animal dying. A lot of times our younger children, we shut their eyes because it might upset them. And you know what? It will. But eventually they're going to have death in their life. And unfortunately, it's part of life. And when they start seeing this part of nature, it's going to actually bring it about. When my children were younger, we have had 5 miscarriages in our home, and we did not shelter them from that. We let them know each and every time I was pregnant, even though there was a little fear in the back, a lot of fear in the back of my mind that I might lose that child, we still let them welcome that child with us. And you know what? It helped prepare our children for the ups and downs of life. It gave them an idea of what it is that mom and dad are going through and how we're coping with it. That lays spontaneous living on them so that they too can go into further life and be provided in how to react and provide for themselves and their children in the future. So number 3, put your children in front of their education. And Charlotte Mason mamas, get out of the way. Get out of the way. This is something that's so hard for us because if you're new to Charlotte Mason or you've been around it for a while, you feel as though you're learning for the very first time. And you know what? We really are, because we're getting back to the way our brain naturally learns. But here's what's so important. It's one thing learning alongside your children through their narrations, but it's another where we're slowing them down because we're in the middle of it. Or we're getting in the middle of the relationship that needs to be building between them and their education. And so when we follow today's education through their lens, we're missing the beauty of the Charlotte Mason education. By wearing her lens and getting out of the way of our children's education. It's in this step, once we secure the other 2 steps, it's in this step that we're actually being able to move our children towards the science of relationships. If they cannot have that, they will not get to self-education. So this is how imperative this step is to your elliptical orbit and how you need to walk through these steps to do it for your family. Okay, so this is our next quote. We are concerned with is the fact that the person personally have relations with all that there is in the present, all that there has been in the past, and all there will be in the future. With all above us and all about us, the fullness of living, expansion, expression, and serviceableness for each of us depend upon how far we apprehend these relationships and how many of them we lay hold of. This is the beauty of being in the moment and spontaneous living. This is the time, like right now, you could be teaching your children about past presidents, but you can be right here in the moment, in the future, not just in the present, but in the future, going through the election process, understanding what that election process is. Even if you're not in the United States, you still have government, right? Letting your children understand that and being part of current events is important for them to understand their future and what it looks like to make educational decisions based on the structure of your government, based on your moral guidance that you have inside you of what's right, what's wrong. They need to understand that process in order for their future, right? And so this is how spontaneous living, being aware of current events, being aware of what's happening in your neighborhood, what's happening in your family, what's happening to them. This is something that we need to be thinking about. past, present, and future. And this will help you to be able to build that stage, to help them to get into that stage of science of relationship. It's so important. So in case you keep hearing this and you're like, Dollie, I don't know what science of relationship really means. It's this. Education is the science of relationship. We are educated by our intimacies. We are educated by our intimacies. What our children are intimate with, what they have a relationship with, they will be educated by. Their close friends educate them by their influences, by their conversations about what they see on television, what they hear in movies, what they read in books, what they have in adult relationships in their lives, their neighbors, people in their church, people in their community. Intimacy is where our education starts. And so it's the same as in our books. It's the same in all resources that we have. We need to get our children face to face with their education. They need to have those intimacies with the words on the pages, with the words out of the mouth of their teachers, with the situation around them. They need to become intimate. And they're not going to get intimate if you stood between them. For an illustration, I plan to let you see this. What would happen if my husband was on one side of me and my child was on the other? And I wouldn't permit my husband or my child to have a conversation without me being in the middle. If my husband had to tell me what to tell this child, and then I returned and told my husband what this child said, they would never have a real intimacy. They would never have a relationship, right? In order for them to have a true relationship, I need to get out of the way and let them get face to face. That's the same thing with their education. When we are taking one thing of their education, turning it around, spitting it to them, and letting them know, and then them regurgitating to us to see what they retain, it's not that intimacy you're after. So this is why Charlotte Mason says, get out of the way. This is why Charlotte Mason says we have to create those intimacies. It's through intimacy that delight is given, and it's through that delight that education is arrived at. Okay, that was a big lesson in a short time. So I would love to hear your thoughts on today. Let's talk about this topic for a few minutes, and let me hear what you have to think about with the science of relationships. Did you have some aha moments? Did you see some of the steps that you could be making in your home that will allow you to actually make the progress towards science of relationship? Laura, hello. So glad I was able to catch the live today. I am happy you found it too. I'm very happy for that. As you can see, we have a new structure, and the reason being is because we're working in the process of turning these into a podcast as well. So to make it easier for my editing teenager, we are pulling the interactions towards the end. So please know I really desire you to interact with me still on these live shows. You can be interacting the entire time I'm talking. You can be posting your comments. They will not distract me. I will come to you at the end, and we'll have our normal conversation just towards the end. So it's easier for me to position these on podcasts, because you wouldn't believe how many times I have people asking me, can you create a podcast? I would love to hear you on a podcast. And so I've decided to just repurpose this that way. So are there any subjects that you teach or do alongside? So when they're younger, right, when they're learning the mechanics of reading, writing, and arithmetic, I do have to be there because they have not learned the mechanics of those subjects yet, right? Once they learn how to read, then and they know how to narrate well, and then they know how to do their written narration, it's time for me to 100% get out of the way. Doesn't mean they're not learning how to do that along the side. So when I know that I've taught attentiveness to our children, then I allow them to do their subjects without me sitting there. There's subjects like math and cursive, memory work if they can read their memory work at the time. Those types of things that we call independent are structured in a way that as soon as they have the mechanics of being able to do those subjects, I move out of the way, I evaluate, and move them forward. When they're still learning the mechanics of reading, I am there beside them in every subject, right? So I have to be the one reading to them. However, the difference is, although I'm reading to them, They're the ones processing the information and retelling me, and they're getting excitement. Like today, I was reading a story to my son, and there happened to be a bald eagle in the story. My son absolutely loves a bald eagle. He's been drawing bald eagles all on his own. He really got into the detail of the beak and the eyes, all because he delighted in bald eagles. Well, at the end of his narration, he's like, Mom, can I tell you something about bald eagles? And he started talking to me about everything he's been learning on his own about bald eagles. And then he asked me, can we look at some videos? And I said, not right now, because Mommy has some things to get done. So later today, we're going to have some time to look at YouTube with bald eagles. This is being able to get out of the way and helping him have those delights. So it is a process that you need to work towards. But as soon as they have those mechanics, you need to let them, and you know they're going to go the right way, you need to let them have that. And what you're going to find is by the time your children are at middle school, and you have done your due diligence to raise them the right way, you shouldn't be involved in anything. You should be letting them just have that intimacy with their subjects. They can still have it with you there as long as you're not regurgitating. And that's the problem with textbooks, is that it's been regurgitated and it's dry. There's just nothing there for children to grasp on their own. I hope that answers your question, Lynn. Okay, so Sunrima, I think is how you say your name. I really loved your example here at the end. Well, that's wonderful. I love sharing examples because that's how we all learn. And just seeing it time and time again about being able to give your children during those mechanics the most that they can do so that you can build that intimacy, and then give them the times and the time and tools to be able to develop more of those interests is so important. I remember when our oldest child, who's now 25, she's fixing to turn 26, was younger. She really got into the Oregon Trail. She really got into pioneering, thanks to the Little House on the Prairie series. She really got into that. Her entire free time was her writing a book. I mean, and I'm disappointed she never actually got that printed, because it was an exceptional book. She didn't finish reading it, but it had the potential of being the next Little House on the Prairie series. And it was about a family that went west to Oregon. She spent so much of her afternoon time researching, just not just about different areas to make sure that they had the trees, but the different herbs that they would use during pioneering times to heal sicknesses, and what healed different sicknesses and such. It was such a powerful time. And what's amazing is that all happened when she had learned the mechanics of reading and writing. She had learned it all. She had gone the right way. I let go, and that child, her free time was just unbelievable. So I hope that helps you guys as well. It's very important. Just keep thinking intimacy. How can I get my children intimate with what I've put in front of them in their education? And a lot of times today, it's finding those YouTube. My son just wants to see YouTubes. He wants to see it. He wants to see how things work and stuff. He's a very how it's made kind of kid. So anytime I could add that level for him, I do that because it's so important. So next week's live show, I'm going to be talking about how do I get my child to delight in learning. This is the stage that has so many Charlotte Mason mamas so confused because their children are just hating school. And I talked about this a couple weeks ago. I gave a little bit of, maybe that was in an email, a little bit of talk about if your children are not delighting in school, they're going to hate school. And there's some keys to looking for that. But what I want you to understand is that there are key things you can be doing to ensure that your children are delighting in school, in their learning. And it all starts from getting those intimacies, but there's other things you can be doing. So I'm going to build on that next week in the live show. So I look forward to doing that with you all. I have something very exciting to share with you guys. Very, very exciting. So you may have already done this this summer, but here's what I want you to know. Happening March 16th, that's just a few weeks from now. I cannot believe we're already talking March. Starting March 16th, on Monday through Friday, I am going to be delivering my Charlotte Mason planning workshop. So if you have not gone through this yet, this workshop is free. It's packed full of 5 areas you as a Charlotte Mason mama need to be planning for your homeschooling year. Okay, so we're doing it a little early this year because what I found is a lot of people are already in the planning in March. It surprised me. It shouldn't have, but it did. So you're going to want to sign up for this, the charlottemasonway.com/workshop. You're going to get a few extra special things inside the deliverable as well that talk about curriculum. So you're going to want to get a hold of this and sign up and then put this on your calendar March 16th through the 20th. It's delivered with pre-recorded training and a workshop that you'll go right through it. And then in addition to that, during this week, the March 16th through the 20th, I'll be going live answering questions for that day's topic and helping you process it. And it's going to be a really big thing. You do not want to miss this. This was huge last year. We had almost 900 people going through the workshop last time. So share this with your friends, invite them to join you, share it in workshop or share it in Facebook groups, anywhere that you know Charlotte Mason mamas hang out, and help me help them. And what's really excited about this year, if you went through it last year with me, I had a whole lot of people saying, I do not want to be on Facebook. I do not want to be inside Facebook. I don't want a Facebook account, all of those things. And what's real exciting is I have a way that you guys are not going to have to be on any social media platform so that you can engage with me and be able to have this straight from my website. So I'm so excited about this. So we're going to get rid of all the distractions we Charlotte Mason mamas have. We don't need any more on the internet. I'm going to get with you guys and help you processing the Charlotte Mason Planning Workshop as you think about next year. So spread the word, help us get people into this, and let's get your Charlotte Mason homeschool plan for next year. It's going to be a really big time. Laura, I'm so excited that you're excited. This has been a big thing, and I'm really excited that it's time to pull this together for you guys again. Thank you guys for joining me this week, and make sure you sign up if you haven't yet. And then I'll see you next week, same time, Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you can join me either on Facebook or on YouTube for the live show. I'll talk to you then. Bye for now.